Your retail price point has to work for your retailer, not just for your brand. What do I mean when I say this? No one is expecting to find a $50 8-ounce bottle of shampoo at Walmart. It's just not something that you would expect to find at the store specifically. And at the same time, a moisturizer from a single brand could easily have 4 different price points across the various retailers that they sell. What the heck are you talking about, Monique? Well, I'm talking about pricing, which is one of the most important and often most overlooked decisions that you as a founder will make as you grow your brand. And today's focus for this solo episode is on how brands might consider pricing their items across retailers. Whether you're a brand new founder or bringing in a new product to the market, this episode is for you. As of the published date of this episode, I am an associate of Ulta Beauty. The ideas and thoughts represented here are my own and not that of my employer. Welcome to the Scaling Emerging Beauty Podcast, a show that provides actionable insights for early stage emerging beauty brands looking to scale at brick and mortar retail. I'm Monique Benoit, a former retail buyer, and I've spent years working with beauty brands and retailers to help products hit the shelves at major stores in the US. And today we're diving into part 2 of our special pricing series. In episode 802, so 2 episodes ago, I talked about setting a price relative to the market. I told you to look at the category and the competition and to use those research buckets as ways for you to know how to sell it. And in this episode today, I'm going to break down step by step some of the retail margins that are expected based on the type of retailer. This is the kind of stuff that's really hard to Google. So definitely get your notebook out and take some notes as we're talking about retailer pricing strategies today. Let's get into it. Okay, let's talk about retailer pricing strategies. To start, I'm going to go ahead and give a little bit of background on the various types of retailers that are here in the US. These are just big buckets. First, you have your mass retailers. These are your retailers that offer a variety of categories. They have food, they have apparel, they have health, they have beauty, they have home. These retailers typically have huge stores, which means that they have a lot of space to allot to beauty and wellness categories. This space, I would say, could be anywhere from 10 plus valleys. So a valley would be like an aisle, so both sides. That could be dedicated to beauty and wellness categories. And beauty and wellness, I'm considering to be everything from color cosmetics, skincare, hair care, body care, personal care, all the way over to nutrition, because we know beauty is wellness these days. One thing that's important about mass retailers is that they can offer an everyday low price strategy. Many of them will do this. What this means is that they're not offering a ton of promotions. They're going for the everyday low price, which means that they want you, the brand, to give them your best costing available so that they can provide the consumer, their end consumer, with the best price available. Now, there are some mass retailers that offer a bit more promotions than others, but in general, many mass retailers are in this EDLP or everyday low price arena. All right, that's the mass retailers. Next, we're going to go ahead and get into food. Food retailers are the retailers that sell food more than anything. That's why we call them a food retailer, not just because I'm not that creative. But these retailers are your grocery stores, your Harris Teeter, your Hy-Vee, your Wegmans, your Kroger. And these retailers will still offer beauty and wellness products. But because food is the key makeup, no pun intended, of this retailer, they might only have a few aisles for beauty and a few aisles for healthcare and wellness versus the 10 plus that I talked about at mass. And once we get to specialty retailers, their whole store is promoted to beauty. Now, the food retailers often offer promotions, but beauty and wellness are not the key drivers for these visits. They're typically basket builders. So I'm going in, I'm getting my groceries, I'm picking up my eggs and my bread and my milk. And then I'm like, oh, I need a refill for a nail polish, or, oh, my moisturizer is running out. Let me get that. Or, you know what? I'm already here. Let me browse the aisle since I don't have my kids with me. I'm giving you just a few examples of consumer mindsets that might happen when they're shopping in these stores. Either way, that's what a food retailer is and the type of space that they might have allotted for you as a brand. Next on the list are natural food grocers. Now notice, I talked about Hy-Vee and Kroger in the last section. The reason why I'm separating out these natural food grocers is because they specifically typically work through a distributor. If you've ever heard of KeHE or UNFI, these specific retail distributors work with many of these natural food grocers. I'm talking about grocery stores like Sprouts or Whole Foods or Mom's Market. They're very similar to food grocers in that the key categories are food, and beauty and wellness products are kind of fill-in drivers for the trip. But the difference for you as a beauty brand is that these retailers often have very strict standards that they expect if they're bringing beauty brands to the market. So that's a natural food grocer. Next on the list is drug. These retailers are known for having a pharmacy as the key driver for visits. In recent years, these retailers have had a tough time with store traffic for a variety of reasons, but they do have a strong focus on healthcare and wellness because of their direct ties to healthcare. Many of these drug stores, like CVS and Walgreens, are even tied to bigger healthcare companies, and so there's a lot of overlap with them having a strong affinity towards healthcare, and that being one of the things that's important to their business. Now, drugstores might have 4+ aisles dedicated to beauty and wellness, so there's definitely a significant space for beauty and wellness in these stores. Although they are certainly smaller than your mass retailers for sure, drugstores tend to have more space for beauty and wellness than a typical grocery store. One thing to note about drug retailers is that they tend to offer what we call a high-low pricing strategy because they tend to be fairly promotional. We call it high-low because they're going to come in with the higher marked up retail prices, but then they will lower it when they're on promotions. How many times have you walked into a CVS or a Walgreens and seen a BOGO 50? I see it all the time. Either way, that's a drug retailer. The next retailer type that I'm going to cover is club. Club retailers typically offer the best of the best and super-sized options to maximize the economies of scale on pricing. Club retailers offer a variety of categories similar to mass retailers, from home and apparel and food and beauty and wellness. And they oftentimes have entire valleys dedicated to health and nutrition products. But I find that beauty products in the club space tend to be a bit more piecemeal and a bit more scattered, with big brands that do a ton of volume being at the club retailers, but you don't find many indie beauty brands there. And there's a reason for it. Club is looking for volume. They're looking for you to move through things really fast. And most of the time, indie brands don't have the brand awareness or recognition to be able to move that type of volume. Now, with that being said, a PO from club stores could be on your wish list in the future. Examples of club retailers here in the US include Costco and BJ's. Another set of stores include department stores. They offer a variety of apparel and accessory products, with those categories being the key focus for these stores. But they oftentimes also have a significant space dedicated to beauty. Now, there are a range of department stores offering luxury items. I'm thinking about a Neiman Marcus, and also some that are a little bit more everyday, low price, if you will, or approachable pricing, like a Macy's or a JCPenney. Nordstrom, of course, has a little bit of a mix of all of those things. If these stores are selling retail products, they're often going to tie these promotions to a strategic sale that is tied to the broader retailer store. Now I'll talk a little bit about specialty stores. These stores will sell items in a specific category. And since we're talking about all things beauty, you can think about specialty beauty retailers here in the US as stores like Sally Beauty, Sephora, Ulta Beauty, Credo, and more. Specialty beauty retailers are amazing for emerging brands like you because their entire stores are dedicated to brands like yours, to brands that are selling beauty and retail products. So they oftentimes will have significantly more space than even the mass retailers that have a lot of space dedicated to beauty and healthcare and wellness products. Now that I've talked a lot about the retailer types, I could probably make a whole video about that. I'm going to briefly talk about margin expectations and then we'll wrap up. So, some general margin expectations for some of these retailers. Now, they're going to vary. So it's a range, and it's not necessarily going to be accurate because it can change based on the timing that you're seeing this or what the retailer, they could change their minds at any point in time. But I'll just throw out some general ranges, not specific to a retailer, but just based on those retailer groupings. Mass retailers might require margins in the 30s up into the 40s. That's a pretty big range of 20 points there, but just know it could be on the lower side and it could still be on the higher side if you're looking at the 40s. Drug retailers are looking at high 30s into the 40s. Probably your better bet as a new brand is to come in somewhere around the 40s if you're talking to drug. Food retailers, also similar wide range as the mass retailers from the 30s to the 40s. Natural grocer is going to be looking at 40 plus margins. Plus, remember, there's a distributor fee. Now, I mentioned club and department stores as retailer types earlier, but I actually have never done specific work with those retailers. So I'm not going to quote general margin ranges there, but you are going to hear margins from a variety of other retailers. Specialty retailers tend to have higher margin requirements, starting at the 40s and even getting into the 50s. Now, the reason why I say this to you is because your retail price is not going to be the same everywhere. Think about it. There are brands like Olay that sell their product at an Ulta Beauty, at a Target, at a Walmart, at an Amazon, all across the board. And if you look at an Olay product, you might notice that they'll make small tweaks and adjustments to account for these different pricing strategies. They might have a certain volume that's only available at club stores, and they might have another volume that's available at mass stores, but maybe they sell it as a twin pack on Amazon to avoid things like price matching. There's a lot that goes behind this strategy, but for now, I just wanted to share the types of retailers and the general margin ranges that might be out there based on what you are trying to sell. And in the next part of the series, I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into actual COGS and margins, because while it's important to know what the target retailer margins are, that really means nothing if we don't have a talk about COGS. So that's a wrap on today's conversation. The key takeaway for today, pricing is a partnership between your brand, your customers, and your retailers. And your retailers are important. If this episode got you thinking about your own pricing strategy, I'd love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram at Scaling Emerging Beauty, or leave a comment wherever you're listening to this podcast. I'd love to hear if you learned something new here. I'm hopeful that this pricing series is helping you to price smarter, grow stronger, and to scale in a sustainable way at your desired retailer. Make sure you're subscribed to Scaling Emerging Beauty so you don't miss the next drop. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.